Thank you for joining us today for the first Indiana Language Roadmap Community Showcase. Beginning in 2017, the Indiana Language Roadmap is developing and implementing a statewide plan to strengthen world language learning, with collective input from stakeholders across business, education, healthcare, and government sectors. The project was supported for its first 2 years through the Language Flagship, an initiative funded by the Department of Defense through their National Security Education Program and administered by the Institute for International Education. Indiana's Center for the Study of Global Change is proud to house this project under the leadership of myself, Dr. Teresa Nichols, and is organized in collaboration with several regional leaders as well as a statewide advisory board. I want to thank my 4 roadmap leaders here with us today, Donna Albrecht, Israel Herrera, Martha Martin, and Lisa Stockberger, for all of their support and particularly for their collaborative efforts in planning today's showcase, as well as the support of the Indiana University Center for the Study of Global Change. The 4 priority areas of the roadmap plan and our efforts include strengthening the educational pipeline, growing a more global Indiana through economic and workforce development, coordinating, collaborating, and connecting with others, and raising awareness. You can read more about the roadmap plan or download a PDF copy on our website. Recent initiatives include organizing panels on Indiana's global careers, supporting the community projects that you'll learn more about shortly, and acting as a connector for Hoosiers who are invested in our globally engaged Indiana. We also have an upcoming survey of Indiana employers to better understand hiring preferences and job positions for those who have global workforce skills in our state. Today, the first hour of our showcase will be presentations of community projects from some fantastic organizations and individuals around Indiana. And then the second hour will be guided networking, which is broken into discussion rooms. I want to thank the community project leaders for all of their hard work and also our discussion facilitators during the network session. I also want to thank all of you today for joining us to learn more about Indiana's global communities. All right, Ashley, you're ready to go.
Teresa, thank you so much. It is a pleasure to be here with so many friends, colleagues, and those I miss spending time with in person and look forward to more opportunities to do so soon. First, I just want to say a big thank you to the Indiana Language Roadmap, the community, the leadership, Teresa, and so many others. And it's really wonderful to see the efforts that were taken on over the last several years come to fruition in real life projects for many of you, with great organizations serving as grant recipients and putting those ideas that we all sat in a big conference room to organize, put those into action. We're really proud to be among friends doing important work in our state. So first, just very briefly, I wanted to share about the International Center. Back in 1973, then Mayor Richard Lugar called for the founding of an international center to help serve Indianapolis in becoming a global city. Today, we support Indiana's global engagement by working alongside private companies, nonprofits, government leaders across our state, so that together we can become a state that welcomes and embraces all cultures and languages. In 2020, we were so proud to launch a program that builds on our team's expertise and the vast network of global leaders we get to work alongside every day. So we created the James T. Morris Global Leadership Series. We're really grateful for the support of the Indiana Language Roadmap and our many sponsors and session hosts that are joining us today and throughout the series. In 2020, our session hosts included the Indianapolis Airport Authority, IUPUI, Lilly Family School of Philanthropy, IEDC, Taft, and with special support by Indiana Language Roadmap and the Herbert Simon Family Foundation. So, the James T. Morris Global Leadership Series. We launched this program because it reflects our organization's focus on serving Indiana's competency globally, but also in some key areas of our state. We named it after Jim Morris, who's a long-serving board member of the International Center. He has a distinguished career as a global leader. He truly embodies the idea that no matter what role he was in, he brought global leadership skills to the table. He's worked in business, government, and philanthropy across his career, and he brought that perspective every time. So the professional development series takes place over 5 months. We hosted in the fall of 2020, and with plans to host annually. And you can see each month had a different theme or topic. So we started with cultural competency as the foundation of a global leader. And then we talked about government as a global partner, global good or philanthropy, global business, and with the capstone of global leadership. And we believe that whether you work in one of those lanes or you spend time in multiple lanes throughout your career, that to truly be an effective global leader, you need to have appreciation and understanding and respect for those other lanes to be effective in your work in one. Over the course of this series, we brought together more than 30 speakers from those different career lanes. We're really proud. You may recognize some of these faces from your work here in Indiana. And they really brought wonderful perspectives where many of them come from one lane, but through their presentations, we learned so much about how they collaborate with business, nonprofit world, government partners, and others in the work that they do to showcase Indiana, to attract foreign investment, to build up programs for students and adults to be more globally competent. It was really a wonderful collaboration of all of these partners that we get to work with. The Morris series is designed for rising global leaders. So what does this mean? It means it's probably not ideal for an entry-level employee, and it's probably not ideal for the CEO of a large global company, but just about everyone in between that is on a pathway of increasing global leadership. When we have our application, we ask our applicants to identify their leadership experience, but also demonstrate global relevance to the work that they do. That could be global relevance in their professional career. It could also be in a volunteer role. So it may be that someone serves on a nonprofit board that has global components to it. But what's really important is thinking about impacts and outcome for the Morris series. Today, we see that many are surprised by how global Indiana is. Now, that's not true of the folks on this call. You're very familiar with that, but I'm sure you too find that some of the folks that you work with here in our state don't know how global the work we do is. So we want to change that, and we want to change that by recognizing and equipping global leaders across our state to know each other, to collaborate on projects, but also to help bring about the work that they're doing and doing it in a very public way so that it's no more surprises. We also want to build a network of alumni, speakers, sponsors, of globally engaged Hoosiers together and meet regularly, not just in a formal session. So that's what we're trying to accomplish. We do it because of the support of the Indiana Language Roadmap and other partners I've mentioned. And we are really excited to be going into the second cohort this fall of global leaders. Before I go too far, I should recognize that we have at least one of our alumni on this call, and we have at least one applicant for 2021 on this call. So we're really proud to be associated with the folks here today. I have two things I want to share kind of as a call to action. One is that at the International Center, we host internships every semester. We sometimes have 8 to 10 or 12 interns every fall, spring, and summer. And our interns get to do truly substantive work in our organization, whether that's working on marketing projects or working on data management or greeting the French ambassador to the United States when he visits Indianapolis a few weeks ago, as you see in this photo here. So I wanted to share, and Maggie, my current intern, is sharing some of these links in the chat about opportunities to apply for internships or share this with students in your network. Also, if you're interested in the Morris series from an applicant perspective, please click on the link that Maggie shared to be the first to learn about the 2022 application. We have just recently closed our 2021 application portal, but please sign up so that next spring you'll be the first to know about the 2022 opportunity. And in closing, I just want to say thank you, and I want to share my information here, my email address and our organization's website. We would love to connect with you if you have thoughts or ideas about ways to connect with the Morris series, with our internships, with other opportunities going on around the state. We are just very happy to be here collaborating with all of you. So thank you so much. And I'm open to questions if you have any.
Yes, we've got time for one or two questions in the chat if anybody would like to ask Ashley any more about the Morris series. And thank you, Margaret, for sharing some wonderful links for everyone. All right. And yes, we are going to be publishing this recording on our YouTube channel. So if you would like to view this again later or share it with colleagues, you are very welcome to do so. So we'll keep the chat open again. If there are questions for Ashley, she'll keep an eye on that. But I'd like to shift then to our next presenter. So Susan Tomlinson from the Indianapolis Teacher. I'm going to get Indy Tessock wrong. I'm going to let you introduce it, Susan, because you do it so well. And so she's going to talk about their project, Global Connections in Action Through Student Interviews.
Okay, thank you very much, Teresa. I'm Susan Tomlinson. I chair the Indianapolis Sister Cities Teacher and Student Outreach Committee. And I just want to begin by saying thank you so much to the Indiana Language Roadmap Project for funding our Global Champions project. So Teresa, if you could go ahead and start with the PowerPoint presentation. I'll just say a couple of things and we'll go ahead and get started.
All right, 1 second while I cue that up.
And Ashley, I'd like to say I'll be in touch. There are things that we've done that would be that I think that we need to talk about. I'd like to give a shout out to Kathy Blitzer, who was a big part. This was her brainchild, actually. She's not able to join us today, but we called this our Global Champions interview, student interview with Global Champions. You can go to the next slide, please. And Indianapolis Sister Cities, we have 9 sister cities at this point, but the next slide is a map of Indiana that shows you where the in Sister Cities International are relationships are located throughout Indiana. And you can see that Peter Kirkwood from the International Center of Indianapolis is the person who is responsible for coordinating Indiana's sister cities. And so I simply wanted to give a shout out to that program. I want you to know also, regardless of what city you're in, there may be a sister city that's not affiliated with Indianapolis or with Sister Cities International. There may be sister cities relationships, and that's something that I encourage you to explore. The next page is simply, or the next slide, if you would go to the next slide for me, please, Teresa, is very simply the list of Indianapolis Sister Cities committees and the contact person and their Twitter account or Facebook page. So if you're in the Indianapolis or Central Indiana area and you're interested in more information, then please you can reach out to those people. So I just wanted to let you know about that. On the next slide, basically what we decided to do, oh wait, I need to give a real quick shout out. The Indiana Sister Cities program will be having an Indiana Sister Cities Symposium on September 11th. And so it will be at Riverside High School in Indianapolis. If you're interested in more information, you can get in touch with me. All right, so we call this Global Champions Interview Objectives. And here are the objectives, but I'll say to you that basically what we decided to do was identify students who we would identify global leaders actually in our community. We would open the interview process up to students. It was kind of a competitive, you need to turn in an application. And then there was a teacher coach that was assigned to the students who were chosen, the 2 or 3 students who were chosen to interview our global leaders. And they were responsible for doing research about the people who they were interviewing and creating the list of questions. And then this is one case where I can say it was having to learn more about Zoom was a good thing, because it only made sense to do all of these interviews via Zoom. And so we shared these interviews. Each interview lasted about a half an hour, and we shared these interviews at our Global Connections in Action conference in September, that the Indianapolis Sister Cities Global Connections and Action Conference and the Sister Cities Conference. And they are on our website, which is www.inditasoc.org, and you can see specific examples. Next slide, please. And so this is the first one. I'm not showing you any clips because there just isn't time, but this is Gary Wetzel from Riverside High School in Indianapolis, and his two students who interviewed former mayor of Indianapolis, Greg Ballard, who was very involved in the Sister Cities program. He's a former Marine. He's a world traveler, and as Indy mayor, he added multiple sister cities. And the themes, the recurring themes from him were to simply live your best life, embrace those who've come across the world to live in your city, and ultimately we want everyone to live in a peaceful and thriving situation. This half-hour interview is online, and there's a link there where it can be accessed if you're interested. But Mayor Ballard is, and he's a part of the Morris Speaker Series, is an amazing global champion. Next slide, please. We also identified our next global leader was Raju Shanthala, who grew up in a small village in India and then moved to Indiana. He, by training, is a speech pathologist, and he is now the president of the India Business Council. And two of my students interviewed him, and it was amazing to hear to hear not only his experiences, but for those of you who are world language teachers, to hear him talk about the importance of language and speech pathology and accents. And one of the young ladies, Samantha, at the bottom, on the bottom left, I didn't realize this until we turned off the video and we just chatted for a while, but she's going to college to study speech pathology, and she and Raju just absolutely clicked. And he made it very clear how global competencies can help you with interactions in your job, with your friends, your family, your community, and the world. And he also is the president of the Indiana Sister Cities Committee with Hyderabad, India. Next one, please. This is Mr. Zeno Tutino. He's the honorary Italian consul. He's from Italy, and he and his wife moved to New York, actually, originally because of his wife's job. And so he decided not to get a job for a while and decided that one way he could get to know American people was to work in a Starbucks, which he did. And he said, Americans really don't know anything about coffee, but he certainly learned a lot about American culture by working in Starbucks. And he made a point of emphasizing the universal value of education and how you have to, Zeno, how to bridge relationships through communication. And one thing that I did not mention is what the Indiana Language Roadmap money funded was we were able to give these students stipends. And so it was a very professional, they were very professional students, as you could just see from their pictures. But if you watch any of these, you'll see that it was, they took it very seriously. They practiced. Having the teacher coach helped, but I'm telling you from my experience and what I heard from the other teachers was that these students were just amazing student leaders. And we have put these videos online, and we have plans, if you could go to the next slide, please, to generate more. With or without funding, we hope to do more of this. And that's one reason, Ashley, that I said I may be in touch with you to see about some people that we could. There are plenty of people, and there are people in your communities. It doesn't have to be someone from a large city or corporate background. It could certainly be someone who's had world travel experience, military experience, missionary experience, whatever it might be. When you talk about these global leaders who've had international experience, they are wonderful resources, and these gentlemen were just excellent in working with the students. So let's see. And the very last slide is simply a shout out to all the people who were involved in this. Some of them who you might know because some of them are world language teachers. And so with that, again, thankful so much to the Indiana Language Roadmap. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
All right, wonderful. Thank you so much, Susan. And I think, again, that's a great reminder. There's so many global champions in our communities. They come from a variety of backgrounds, and part of encouraging others to understand the importance of these issues is to share their stories and get those more public. And Christine asks about sharing the links. So yeah, we can work on getting those into the chat, Christiane. Thank you for that question. Let's see, any other questions at this moment for Susan? Let's see, Giancarlo asks, how do you select the interviewers and the interviewees?
We went with people who we knew or had connections. We have a whole long list of other people that we would like to continue this with, but that was the bottom line.
Okay, thank you, great question. All right, in the interest of time, because we still have many wonderful projects to get to, I'm going to next introduce Greg Harrell from the Indiana Commission for Higher Education.
Great, thank you, Dr. Nichols, and thank you to the Indiana Language Roadmap for giving us this awesome platform to share about the impact of some of our work over the past year. So as you said, my name's Greg Harrell. I'm with the Indiana Commission for Higher Education and serve on our school and community outreach team. And so we are a state agency, and we serve a number of different purposes throughout the state, but really two of our biggest responsibilities are serving as a coordinating body for public higher education here in the state of Indiana. And then secondly, what encompasses most of my work is ensuring that higher education is accessible and affordable for all Hoosier students. So we do that in a number of ways, most of which come through our scholarship and grant programs. So of those, 21st Century Scholars is the oldest, the biggest, and I believe the most well-known. And I've been at the commission now for about 5 years. And since coming into my role, really been passionate about educational equity, especially in the space of language access. And so we started early on translating all of our documentation in-house to Spanish, and then have some really rock star partnerships, predominantly here in central Indiana, working with groups such as the Alliance Française, that is actually based here in Indianapolis as well, and then the Burmese American Community Institute, to translate our information to French, as well as Burmese and Chin Hakka. And after doing that, we didn't want to stop there. So about a year ago, my good friend at Luna Language Services, Tiffany Hansen, actually reached out and connected us with Dr. Nichols and talked about the program. And so we were able to connect and propose a program in which we wanted to work to expand into other areas, those specific languages being Arabic, Korean, Kenya-Rwanda, and then the last one is Kiswahili, because there is Ashley was talking about a second ago. I mean, Indiana is a global place, and it's going to continue to be more global as time goes on. And we absolutely recognize that at the Commission for Higher Education, and want to be able to adapt, change, and provide services so that all of our families are able to take advantage of things such as 21st Scholars. So we know that here in just a year, about 50% of our state's growth is going to come from immigrant communities, and so we want to ensure that language access is no longer a barrier to our families. So we were able to work with 3 different departments at the Hamilton Luger School of Global and International Affairs to translate those documents. And so I want to give a quick shout out to the Center for the Study of the Middle East, the Department of East Asian Languages and Cultures, and then lastly, the African Studies Program for helping us out with those translations. A really cool facet of it was that we were not just intersecting with faculty, but also students participated in our translations as well. So I think it's always a great thing when students are able to get that experience and connect classroom with their community. So we tried to measure just how frequently these resources were used for 21st Century Scholars on our website. And so in the last month alone, those 4 translations were viewed a total of 115 times, leading up to our 21st Century Scholars enrollment deadline for current 8th graders. So that's a lot of clicks. And for each of those clicks, there's a family on the other side of that receiving our information in a way that they understand, knowing that, financial aid can be a complicated process. There are many different moving parts to 21st century scholars, and so we're really excited to see that being so frequently used. And also there are many partners of ours who work a lot in the space of 21st century scholars enrollment. So places like the Immigrant Welcome Center, Exodus Refugee, some of our larger school corporations throughout the state have really lauded the additional capacity that we've been able to provide thanks to this partnership. So we're just very appreciative and looking forward to still utilizing these resources because all of them are essentially evergreen when it comes to the documents that we've translated. So families now, as we've entered a new academic year with 21st century scholars, they're all updated on our website and going to be continue to be able to take advantage of this. So we're just very appreciative and thank all of you, the faculty, students, and Dr. Nichols and the Indiana Language Roadmap for making this possible and helping ensure educational equity here in the state when it comes to scholarships.
Great, thank you so much, Greg. I love hearing the statistics of how often those are getting used. And yes, around every single click, there is a family, there are students, and those are new opportunities for our fellow Hoosiers. That's so exciting. All right, so, and that's a wonderful example too of that was something through connecting with Luna Language Services and Commission of Higher Education. We were able to find opportunities here within the wonderful educational institution, Indiana University Bloomington, to make those happen and to also provide student learning experiences for people who are passionate about those different world languages to see the tangible benefits of what they've been learning in the classroom. So next, we're going to go to a pre-recorded project overview of the Latino Family Literacy Project. So the presenters from MSD Washington Township, North Central. It's a fantastic team of educators with their English as a new language departments. Fortunately, all of them are taking some vacation time, some well-deserved vacation time. So they pre-recorded a video for us. Nicholas, if you could go ahead and get that queued up for us.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for having us here this afternoon. I'm sorry we weren't able to join you in person, but we are just so grateful to the Indiana Language Roadmap for granting us these funds to be able to run a Latino family literacy project at North Central High School. We are on the north side of Indianapolis, and we've had a great experience this year, and we are looking forward to continuing the program in the future. And we're excited to share with you a little bit about how it looked for us this year. So my name is Rachel Siever, and I'm the English as a New Language Coordinator for the district. And although I'm sharing the information, the program was coordinated and facilitated by one of our ENL coaches at the high school. His name is Jane Butts, and then also Elena Ney, who is our secondary Hispanic family liaison. And so they coordinated this with students and families, and I'm pleased to share with you some information so that you could try this in your district if you feel like it would benefit your students and families. So first of all, the Latino Family Literacy Project consists of literacy programs and training workshops that are designed to establish family reading routines for Spanish-speaking and English-speaking parents and their children. It involves family reading for parent involvement, reading comprehension, vocabulary development, and English language development for parents and their children, with a biliteracy approach for language development. And from the time we started reviewing these materials, we've just really appreciated two key pieces. One is the assets-based approach that the program takes, and then also just the relational aspect, the relationship building between the students and their parents, the relationship between the parents and the school. And we really felt like this would help us continue moving forward in growing our school community home partnerships. So the program engages parents in reading with their children and reflects the experiences of Latino families and is centered around universal themes. All of the lessons are bilingual and promote biliteracy development. So this year, we really focused on the college awareness program at North Central. Latino Family Literacy Project does offer programs for preschool, elementary, and middle school, but we thought we would start with the college awareness program. And the main goal of the college awareness program is for parents to learn how to support their child in school and to understand what it takes to go to college. The program shows parents and students how they can participate in the educational process, build college awareness, develop English language vocabulary, introduce parents and students to key steps of the college admission process, and learn how to use the resources at their school. This program is based on the bilingual chapter book, Graciela's Dream, One Family's Journey to College. And as we think about utilizing this college awareness program in the future, we would really love to have our counseling department more involved in the program. This was our first year, but we see that as a really key connection for the future. So our plan, the way that we rolled this out this first year at North Central is that we extended invitations to 25 9th and 10th grade Spanish-speaking English learners. Of those 25, we had 10 families sign up to participate in the after-school program. And we do think that COVID impacted the interest and enrollment. We think that moving into this year, as we continue the program, we will have more interest as we are able to meet with parents and students in person. And so we're looking forward to that in the future. We did have 10 families sign up and participate. All the course materials were hand delivered to students and families. We conducted, and I say we, it was really Dane and Elena, conducted 6 virtual meetings between February and April. And the attendance at those virtual meetings was inconsistent, but even when we had smaller numbers, the participants, both the facilitators and the students and families, did enjoy the time together, and we felt like it was a worthwhile use of everyone's time, and we used it as a learning experience to continue to grow and improve in the future. So we're planning on conducting in-person meetings with the remaining course materials during the 2021-2022 school year. And we're just looking forward to this becoming part of the fabric of what we do in North Central and just improving every year. So if you are interested in this, you can learn more at their website. It's latinoliteracy.com. And they provide information about pricing and training and all of the different levels of programs that they offer. So you're also, of course, welcome to reach out to me. My email is rseaver, that's R, S as in Sam, E, V as in Victor, ER, at msdwt.k12.in.us if you would like more information, or I can connect you with Dane or Elena. So thanks for having us, and I look forward to hopefully joining this group in person in the future. Have a great rest of your afternoon. Bye-bye.
Okay, and let me see. I will try to share the second one from Anda Spanish.
Hola a todo el mundo. Mi nombre es Nicole Carey, and I am just wanting to share a couple minutes with you of what we were able to do with our grant from the Indiana Language Roadmap. Let me share my screen really quickly. So first of all, again, my name is Nicole Carey. I am the founder and CEO of Anda Spanish, and we provide learning opportunities for kiddos and adults of all ages in education spaces and private spaces around the city of Indianapolis. Okay. Okay. So we were able to receive some funding earlier in 2020, and we were going to use it for our early learning programming, but COVID. And so what ended up happening is we used the funds to open a learning pod and sponsor some kids for their remote learning experiences who attend dual immersion schools. As we all know, it is very difficult to have that immersion experience virtually. And so what we intended to do was to support them with Spanish-speaking staff for their work, and also provide enhanced learning opportunities afterwards. So this is just a quick picture from two of the girls that were sponsored, that were doing their remote learning. One clearly is not being mask compliant. This was earlier in 2020. When she was on her Zoom call for class. And then after class in our classrooms, we had enhanced learning opportunities using some of our manipulatives that we were able to then clean afterwards and have proper social distancing and doing all those fun things. And so we were very grateful for the opportunity to sponsor some of the kiddos that would not have been able to afford this opportunity otherwise. So thank you very much, Indiana Language Roadmap, and we hope to partner again in the near future. Bye.
So next we are going to go to one of our live presentations. So we're going to have Stephanie Lasky from the Alzheimer's Association Greater Indiana chapter, who's going to tell us a little bit about what they've been working on over the past year. So Stephanie.
Thanks, Teresa. As she said, I'm Stephanie Lasky. I'm the program director for the Greater Indiana chapter of the Alzheimer's Association. So we cover 73 out of Indiana's 92 counties out of our 3 offices in Indianapolis, Fort Wayne, and Maryville. Thanks to the Indiana Language Roadmap grants, we were able to greatly increase our outreach to the Spanish-speaking communities, particularly up north in the northwestern Indiana area outside of Gary, as well as here in Indianapolis. One of our best ways to communicate and reach out to folks who are caregiving for somebody living with Alzheimer's or another dementia is our 24/7 helpline, staffed, just like in its name, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week by licensed clinical social workers who can be there to answer questions, for anybody dealing with any issue. Prior to our grant funding from the Roadmap grant, we didn't have a great way for physician partners to refer folks to our helpline, and we only have one multilingual staff member on my team, whereas our helpline is staffed by Spanish and English speaking folks 24/7, as well as having access to over 200 other languages through a translation service. So we were able to purchase essentially small prescription looking pads that we distributed to all of the federally qualified health centers up in Lake County, as well as several here in Marion County, that essentially provide a prescription for an individual to reach out to our helpline when they receive that Alzheimer's or dementia diagnosis from their primary care physician or their neurologist or whomever they get that from. That's allowed them then to plug into our helpline, who then directs them to local programs. Out of our offices. Up until maybe a month or so ago, all of those were obviously virtual, and then we've slowly started moving back to in-person programming when it's been safe to do so. We've also been able to provide some Spanish language programs live as well as on Zoom to folks who need that, either through our multilingual staff members or through the recruitment of multilingual volunteers. Probably the biggest success, though, is not necessarily even in the work that we've been able to accomplish under the grant, but the relationships that we've built. So we've expanded our relationships with those federally qualified health centers up in Lake County and here in Marion County. We have also created some new relationships in the Fort Wayne area with the Center for Nonviolence. So we're able to reach new audiences who we've never had access to before. We've also created a partnership with Luna Language Services. They've not only done some translation for us into Spanish, but we also had a large employer in the Indianapolis area wanting to sponsor our Walk to End Alzheimer's, but needing to really have us meet their employees where they were. So we provided not only Spanish language translated collateral essentially for them, but we've also been able to provide Burmese language materials on knowing the 10 signs of Alzheimer's and dementia. We've also partnered with Luna to be able to provide ASL interpretation for several online programs and to offer that for when we are able to get back fully in person. So again, it's really being able to leverage those relationships that we're seeing as a big success as we enter our new fiscal year this month.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Stephanie, for sharing all of that. And that's so exciting to hear the different things going on and also the new connections this has helped you with. So in the interest of time, I think we'll just put any questions for Stephanie in the chat and we'll move right along to Ginger from the Immigrant Welcome Center.
Okay, hi everybody. I know that we're running short on time, so I hope everyone doesn't mind if I speak really fast. I am happy to be here. Thank you, Teresa, and you're doing a great job despite the technological problems. It happens to us all. So my name is Ginger Kosowski. I'm with the Immigrant Welcome Center, and I'm the English Learning Director there, and I'm here to tell you about the Adult ELL Pathway to Literacy project. I'm here representing a team, not just myself, and it's all of the organizations below. It's a collaborative effort of organizations and individuals supporting adult ed in Indianapolis. So to give a little bit of background on our project, which Indiana Language Roadmap has helped support, the IWC led a research project in 2018-19 to discover the main barriers for learning English for the immigrant population. And the research was done mainly by a team of multilingual immigrant data collectors, some of them pictured below, so we could hear the voices of those often overlooked in immigrant surveys. We interviewed 1,254 adult immigrants, and the research findings revealed two major barriers to English learning that immigrants face. Work was both the main motivation and the main barrier to learning, and another significant barrier was limited literacy. 31% of the immigrants surveyed had limited literacy in English. Since a person only learns how to read once in their life, if they haven't had the opportunity to gain those skills in their first language, the challenge is even greater in a new language. And in Indianapolis, there were very few programs geared toward these learners who often gave too hard as a reason for discontinuing classes. The lack of classes was due in part to current funding streams for adult basic ed, which are tied to assessments that don't take into account literacy level learners. Teachers expressed a need for more training to work effectively with these learners, which led to a few professional development opportunities. One pictured here from January to March 2020, and the creation of a teacher's cohort. A team of professionals came together to create curriculum and an alternative assessment tool tied to outside standards that allowed learners to show progress from their starting places. We've conducted 2 rounds of 10-week pilot classes, one in 2020 and the second round from January to April 2021. Indiana Language Roadmap support helped provide literacy level workbooks and phonics materials. And after each pilot, we did data analysis and reporting. The program overview looks like this at the literacy level foundations A through D, the goal being to get the learners to the starting line of a level 1 adult basic ed class or a workplace English class. Key tenets of the program are oral language as the foundation for literacy, systematic phonics instruction within themes, and making learning as relevant as possible using the language experience approach, which is using learner-generated text as a basis for practicing reading. Within the themes of health, food, community, and employment, the learners created stories about their lived experiences, which then became the texts for reading. I'd like to share quickly a few results from the pilot classes. So the number of pilot classes and students increased from pilot 1 to 2. And in pilot 2, almost half of the students had 2 years or less of formal schooling. In both pilots, students improved native language and English decoding ability and made skill gains according to the newly developed assessment tool. One learner who wasn't able to attend school in his country had since learned to write his own name, which is an accomplishment to be celebrated. The majority of students said the pilot classes were the right level for them. One student expressed regret at not being able to start the classes earlier. We were glad to avoid a high percentage of the learners discontinuing for the reason of too hard. Learners expressed the life benefits they received from the classes, including being able to communicate at the doctor's office, and as one learner said, being able to read rules and regulations at work. In post-pilot comments, we noticed an increase in learner motivation and confidence, as evidenced by such comments as, "I am starting to learn and understand, but there are still things I want to learn. I want to keep going until I get better, especially putting letters together to make words. Before, I don't know 2 letters, but now I'm practicing, like spelling boy. I think I can spell boy." It requires stamina and perseverance for these learners to overcome the hurdles of intimidation and fear, along with technological challenges to attend a class. But we hope that this program does what one stakeholder claimed, provides the missing link for so many newcomers who've entered programs that haven't been able to speak to the absence of literacy in their lives here or in their native countries. So we agree with my friend Carrie at Exodus Refugee Immigration, who has worked with these learners for a long time, that they may be beginning learners, but they're not beginning thinkers. We plan to conduct a 3rd round of pilot classes with the themes of family and housing. We hope to create printed booklets of the learners' stories for them to practice their reading, and we plan to continue developing and refining the assessment tool and providing teacher trainings. We're also looking to create new partnerships with K-12 schools, adult basic ed programs, higher ed institutions, and city and community organizations. By coordinating our efforts and seeking to serve those marginalized by limited literacy and language barriers, we hope to make our city a more welcoming city to all. So I want to thank you again, Indiana Language Roadmap, for the support and opportunity to share. And if you'd like more info about the project, here are 2 links as well as my contact info. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much, Ginger. Okay, and last but not least, our final presentation is from Matthew Hume at the IUPUI Center for International Communication. And so that is another pre-recorded session. So Nicholas is going to cue that one up. And while we get that started, if there are any questions for Ginger in the chats, please feel free to ask those.
Hello, everyone. My name is Matthew Hume. I'm the Assistant Director of the International Center for Intercultural Communication at IUPUI. And I'm happy to meet with you to share a little bit about our project, the Indiana Workplace English Collaborative, that we have been working on in partnership with the Immigrant Welcome Center here in Indianapolis and funded in part through the Indiana Language Roadmap. So in the next few minutes, I'll be giving you some background on the project, share some of the work we've done in the past year, and look to some of our future goals. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen now. First question, who are we? What is the International Center for Intercultural Communication? We were founded in 1998 in the IU School of Liberal Arts, and we were founded to conduct research and implement good works in the community and around the world based on our research. So we study English language and intercultural communication through the use of applied linguistic research. And we implement practical and customizable education and training in English language and culture for specific purposes. That includes workplace English. And we apply our research and programming in both local and global contexts. Since our founding in 1998, we have a history of offering workplace English courses based in best practices of English for specific purposes to a number of businesses across industries in the Indianapolis area. So to talk a little bit about our collaboration with the Immigrant Welcome Center, in 2018 and 19, ICIC's community liaison, Ginger Kosabutsky, who was the English language consultant for Immigrant Welcome Center at the time, and who's now the English language director at the center. Ginger authored a Lilly endowment-funded research report on adult ELL education. And out of more than 1,200 immigrant English language learners surveyed, it was found that work was both the #1 reason that people wanted to learn English, and it was the #1 reason that they couldn't take classes. There wasn't the time to take the classes that they wanted to take. So as such, the report highlighted the need for an improved pipeline between businesses and English providers, as well as improved advocacy regarding the need for workplace English. So it was around the time that the Indiana Language Roadmap put out their first RFP for community projects, that Ginger and I were talking about ways that we could empower more immigrants with the English they need to succeed in the workplace and in the community. And so out of that, the Indiana Workplace English Collaborative was born. In short, our goal is to join with Central Indiana's business and community leaders to create a network of workplace English training resources in the region, with the goal of contributing towards a more globally competent Indiana workforce. Now, this isn't the easiest task, given that it's taken time for Indiana businesses and organizations to understand the value of international employees in terms of the dedication that they bring and the money they help to generate for our state economy. So we needed a role model. Last summer, we identified a program in Boston that had achieved goals in Massachusetts that were similar to what IWEC is wanting to do in Indiana. English for New Bostonians became our mentor organization. And they have been instrumental in promoting and advocating for workplace English in Boston area businesses. And their English Works campaign brings immigrant voices to employers, community leaders, students, unions, and educators. The campaign also advocates for greater public and private investment in English language learning programs and helps employers to find cost-effective ways to offer English language learning classes in the workplace. Considering that we wanted to learn as much as we could from ENB, we invited them to lead us in a workshop. So in November of 2020, ENB led a 2-day workshop for us. We had 15 participants representing community foundations, neighborhood development organizations, educational nonprofits, and a variety of ESL programs. On the first day of the workshop, we heard the story of English for New Bostonians and the work that they do with the English Works campaign. And on the second day, we had a very practical discussion. We had a guest from a large local business's HR department who served as a model and did a Q&A session with our workshop facilitator on how to approach and talk with businesses about the importance of workplace English. From there, we broke out into small groups to determine strategic steps that we could take away from the workshop and implement into our own program here in Indiana in terms of building employer engagement and investment in workplace ESOL programs, and in terms of advocacy for both increased knowledge of access to available funding for businesses and increased funding in general for English as a workplace skill. In the months following the workshop, IWEC has developed into a dedicated group of educators, community development professionals who meet regularly and make coordinated steps to reach out to the business community regarding the need for English in the workplace. And all of us who are working with IWEC believe in the piece of the pie vision, the need for one point of contact that connects businesses to English language providers so that they don't have to search, and a system in which the providers share the pie, so to speak, that is workplace English training in Central Indiana. So we want to work together to create this pipeline between businesses and English language providers. In our continuing effort to promote workplace English in businesses, we have several goals for the upcoming year. We're planning a 2 half-day workshop for business and union leaders. And the goal in this workshop will be to demonstrate and help business leaders, primarily in engineering and manufacturing fields, to really understand the return on investment that comes when you offer workplace English, as well as to help understand existing public funding for workplace English. We also plan to hire an IWEC intern for the fall. Our intern will help us to develop a survey of companies and associations with a vested interest in an English proficient workforce. And they'll help us to develop what we're calling a la carte English training materials for business leaders in manufacturing and engineering who want ready-made choices that they can bring to their employees. Obviously, we're very happy with the group we have now, but we want to increase the number of English language providers who subscribe to our vision. We'd like to add 1 or 2 more English language providers in Central Indiana in the coming year. And we're also going to be establishing that one point of contact for businesses to connect to English language training resources. That will most likely be operating out of the Immigrant Welcome Center. But by establishing that one point of contact, that will help us to meet our goal of initiating workplace English trainings through this initiative in the coming year. So empowered workers, increased productivity and return on investment. That's the message that we want businesses to see. And so we will continue our efforts to engage business leaders in understanding the great value in workplace English programs, because ultimately it's these individuals who are going to be making the decision to bring workplace English into Indiana's workplaces to bring greater opportunities to our immigrant and international workers. So thank you very much for your attention. I look forward to continuing the conversation, and feel free to email me with any questions, and I'm sure I'll be able to meet with some of you in the upcoming networking session. Thank you very much.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right, so that ends the portion of our events where we are having the community presentations. So again, thank you for your patience. As always, we ran a little bit long and we had some unexpected technical difficulties. And so now we're going to move into the networking portion of today's events.